Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. This video is brought to you by First Detachment Nutrition. Battle tested, expert formulated. Use discount code AB10 at checkout for 10% off. All right, folks, Big Paul here today with Scuba, Steve, Gartner, freshly minute IFBB Pro. What's going on, dude?
Not too much, Big Paul. How are you?
I'm good, man.
Good.
Everybody coming out of Masters Nationals, man. I'm getting all these people want to come on and talk now. It's fun. I was shocked at the level of competition at Masters Nationals. Usually you go to a local show and you'll see a few Masters competitors, and some of them are just, okay.
Right.
But I was shocked at the level of competition there when I was there.
Yeah, I mean, it was eye-opening for me. I really didn't know what to expect. I knew it was going to be pretty competitive, but like you said, you never know with Masters, especially 50, 60, and so. And when I was backstage pumping up, I was like, wow, okay, I've got quite a battle. So
I think they said when I was, or maybe I heard this incorrectly, but I thought I heard one of the dudes say they had over 1,000 people registered for the show.
Was that right?
Yeah, across all the days, across all the classes and stuff, it includes the women, but I think they said there were over 300 bodybuilders total.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. It was pretty crazy backstage. Well, you were there.
Yeah, I was there, man. I was just shocked at the level of stuff because, I'm sitting there feeling pretty good about myself. I'm like, I think I'm going to do okay when I get up there. And I got back and I was like, oh, fuck. These guys are for real. These dudes are for real. It's not gonna be easy at all.
Yeah, I mean, I was backstage and I saw a couple guys that just were enormous, and I thought they're maybe the 40s or 45s. They ended up being the super heavies in the 50 class, and I didn't.
Yeah, no,
super heavy. And the guy that won it, forgot his name, but he was 265, I believe.
Yeah, I talked to him. Yeah.
Oh, okay. He's like a monster.
Super nice guy. I can't remember his name. I'd love to talk to him too. Big dude though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was bigger than me.
He's tall too.
I don't run. Yeah, he was a little bit taller than me, but definitely bigger than me. I don't run into many dudes my age that are bigger than me, so a little weird, a little uncommon. So you got your pro card your first time out.
Yeah, I was. My coach was actually expecting me to get it in physique. And I figured if I'm going to go all in for this show, I'm going to, do all three divisions and see how I do. And I ended up getting my pro card in classic, which I was actually really happy about. I enjoy more classic and bodybuilding than physique. And then when I did bodybuilding, you didn't get your pro card winning. You have to win the overall. But I still took first, so I was happy,
Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, so you have to win the overall. It's not the class. Yeah, in the bodybuilding.
Yeah. So,
yeah, it's Masters, because I'm going to do Masters USAs. They actually have, because I'm at the top end of the over 40s. So I would have been like I'm almost 50. I'll be 50 in a couple months. But I was thinking Masters Nationals, there's a big difference between being 40 and being almost 50 years old.
Big difference. Yeah.
Huge difference. But it's 45 to 50 at Masters USA. So I figure if I go out here and get my ass smoked this year, I'll come back and do the over 50 Masters Nationals. Although, like you said, the over 50 guys were no joke. That dude that won the super heavies, he looked great.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple even in the division or classes below me. I mean, the overall winner, I believe, was a middleweight, and he looked phenomenal. So, yeah, I mean, all across the board, those guys were top notch.
Yeah, it was wild. But so you did all three. Man, I don't know how you do all three. I would be a nervous wreck if I did all three.
It was more hurtful for the pocketbook than anything.
Was it like $400 or $500 a class, something like that?
No, it was $275. I was fortunate enough. Yeah, and I was fortunate enough to have my gym sponsor me for one class. But, the biggest expense for me that I didn't realize at first was the hotel. And I asked my coach, why is it so expensive? He said, well, they specifically hike up the price because of this event.
Yeah.
And they pull all the microwaves out of the rooms because they want you to buy their food. And so, yeah, it became expensive. I mean, I brought my own food, but
That's lame. They take the microwaves out of the room. That is so freaking lame.
And the fridge. I think they also took that the fridge, the mini fridges.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that with some of the other shows that they do that. That is beyond lame.
So yeah, I think those shows are like the top income producing events for that hotel. So I think they're not so busy during the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's beyond lame. I've heard one of my friends said he just goes out and buys like a $50 microwave and brings it into the room.
Yeah, that's the option, right?
I
mean, I will say it was extremely convenient to have everything right there in that hotel. The tanning, the event, your lodging. This way you have, I don't have to get an Uber or rent a car or something like that.
Yeah, it was a really well-run event. I was honestly, I've been to some pro events this year that were not as run as well. Gary Udit that does that event. I've been to several of his events and they're always very smooth, always very well run.
Right. Yeah, it was a great show.
Yeah, so here you are on stage. This was classic.
Right.
You look great, man.
So I've had some challenges coming back. I competed when I was in my 20s. From 18 to 23, I competed, and then I must have just burnt out. And then 25 years later, I decided to come back. I was 48, but I incurred 3 quad tendon tears during my
Holy
time.
Shit.
So that's been, you can kind of see the symmetries off, especially on my right leg. That one I ruptured twice over a 6-year period.
Yeah, it's tough when you get older, man. I've had 4 or 5 knee operations. I've had both of my ACLs done.
Okay.
I had some dude on Instagram the other day pointing out to me that he's like, "What's going on with your left quad? It looks smaller." And I'm like, "Yeah, I just had fucking ACL surgery, dude."
Yeah, I mean, it's no joke. And then as you age, it's tougher to get the legs back.
Yeah, legs are. You always hear guys talk about legs fading when you get older, and there is some truth to it. I think also sometimes guys try to train. Older guys still try to train legs like they're 25, doing heavy squats and stuff.
Right.
And I've just found that doesn't work. I've really had to it's tough mentally, but yeah, I've had to leave some of that stuff behind and go to things like lunges and sissy squats and leg extensions and hack squats. My legs have actually grown. But no, I mean, overcoming a quad tear, I mean, that's pretty great. You sound like me, man. I took I didn't even lift for like 12 years. I just got burned out. Family.
Fortunately, I kept working out. Yeah, I just was done competing, but it was right around, I was in a very toxic relationship. From
I know that
2014 to 2016. And there was a period where actually I wasn't even working out, and that really affected me. And that sparked when I saw myself in the mirror, to get my ass back in shape and get back to what I used to look like.
Yeah, I had the same situation. I went through a pretty rough divorce, and I hadn't worked out in like 10 years. I'm like, well, I'm back on the market now. I need to get back in shape. And I got bit. I didn't have any desire to compete again, but I just kind of got bit by the bug once I got back in the gym and started seeing some progress. I'm like, fuck it. I'll do a show, see how it goes, and just up and downhill since there. But I did the nice thing where I didn't lift for 10 years and I lost weight and got fatter at the same time.
Right. Yeah. That's easy to do.
From bodybuilder to dad bod.
Mm-hmm.
No, but you look great, man. You look fantastic. Are you going to compete any as a pro? Or are you going to do the Masters World Championships?
So the plan is to do a local pro show just to kind of get my feet wet. So there's a show here locally near Seattle. This will actually be the first time they'll have a pro division.
Are they doing a Masters pro division?
As far as I know, she's doing a Masters, pro classic physique. So that's just right up my alley.
Yeah, here you are. I saw you out there when we were there. I saw you on stage.
So this is the overall at the Washington State.
This was Washington State. Yeah.
Yeah, just a local show in Washington. And the guy to the right, he won the overall, and I believe he did the USA Open.
So this is the Open.
Yeah. So, like you were saying, a lot of times Masters classes in the local shows are not that competitive. So I just
like
figured
2 guys.
Yeah. So I started thinking, well, why don't I jump in the Open class? See how I fare. And I fared okay, but obviously haven't been able to get an overall in the Open. But just for shits and giggles, jump in to the Open. And
Yeah, my last show I did, there was nobody in the over 40, so I just got the trophy by default. And they said, "What do you want to do the over 35?" And I'm like, "Sure, might as well." And I won that as well.
I figure more stage time helps, with presentation and confidence and all that. So
I'm just doing bodybuilding when I go out. I don't think I could squeeze down to classic. Yeah. Because for me, the cutoff would be 224, and I'm like walking around at 265 during the day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a tough cutoff even for me because I'm just under 6 splits. So I think the cutoff's 220. And then just below that's 212, I believe.
Yeah, I'm 6'1" and like 3/4. So I'm just like, if I were a little bit taller, it would be up to 230.
Yeah.
234. Maybe I need to hang upside down or stretch myself out or something. Yeah.
Well, I heard some people actually kind of try to be inconspicuous, and just kind of get on their heels a little bit or on their tippy toes just to get that extra half inch. I heard a buddy of mine tried that and worked for him, but
yeah, I've heard of people doing that.
But you don't want to be caught cheating.
Well, that, and I don't want to get in there and not make weight. That would suck.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll just do bodybuilding. Honestly, I feel like I'm probably upset some people saying this, but I feel like the bodybuilding is actually less competitive than the classic is.
Yeah, it is now. Physique, classic definitely is gaining more popularity.
Yeah, it seems like men's physique is where all the competition's at.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to a show now. I mean, the old guys still like bodybuilding, but you go to any local show now, there's like twice as many men's physique guys as there are classic, and there's twice as many classic as there are bodybuilders. There's like barely any bodybuilders anymore.
I hope it'll make a correction.
Although I have, some of my clients are young guys that want to be bodybuilders, so it's fun. I do like, though, that now they have multiple. I'm not one of these grumpy old guys where it's like bodybuilding or bust.
Right.
I think it's cool that they have classes that different body types can compete in, because if you're kind of a skinny ectomorph guy, you have really zero chance of being a competitive open bodybuilder, where there's different body types can have an opportunity to compete. Or if you're a big blocky guy, like really it's kind of bodybuilding or bust. There's not a lot of other choice. So there's really a class
that was
everybody.
That was my initial decision of going physique, because I thought, well, I injured my legs so much that, my legs aren't going to be competitive. I think physique would be a good class for me, or division for me. So, but in all honesty, I still favor classic.
Yeah, I like classic. That's bodybuilding, right? Yeah, that was bodybuilding.
Yeah, right.
So changing the trunks out backstage, that's got to be a pain in the ass.
Well, with physique, it's easy. You just throw your board shorts on over your trunks, but.
Yeah, I've seen dudes at local shows scrambling around trying to, got their balls hanging out backstage, trying to get into everything.
If you go back to that picture in 2020, I had rotator cuff surgery on 3 tendons, and they cut the biceps tendon and reattached it lower. I think it's a common procedure. I think Larry Wheels had that done.
Mm-hmm.
And when they did that, I just got this amazing peak, which, I don't mind, but it's kind of thrown off the balance of my biceps. As you can see, the right one is a lot higher and more peaked.
Maybe I need to have that procedure done. I have no bicep peak at all. There's I had some guy telling me I need to work on my bicep peak, and I'm like, dude, I've been working on it for 30 years. It ain't happening. They are what they are.
It's a lot of it's genetics,
Yeah, I mean, like your evidence there. It's just it's where the tendon attaches. It's what really.
Yeah.
I mean, quarter-inch difference in a tendon attachment is what makes the bicep peak up like that versus what it looks like normally. But that's a cool problem to have. If you look at the old pictures of Arnold, he did a good job of hiding it, but he had one bicep that peaked and the other one didn't. And he would always do these one-arm bicep poses, or he would twist. Right. Like if you notice in his old pictures.
Well, the cover on his first book, it's very pronounced. I think it's his right one too.
Yeah, he always had one that was way bigger than the other, but he did a really good job of hiding it through posing. You can hide a lot through posing.
Yeah.
If you try to hide
my leg shortcomings somehow on stage.
I mean, pretty much everybody over 50 has leg issues, man. We've all got something beat up. I mean, I'm rocking 2 busted up shoulders and knees that have been operated on. I'm always getting critiqued by the young guys. I'm like, you wait until you're my age and see if you're still going.
I know. That's the thing. Longevity. That's the key.
So we talked a little bit about cycles earlier, like when our eyes open from. This is something that a lot of young guys don't know, but like everybody bitches about the bodybuilders lying about what they take now. And it's hilarious to me because at least they own up that they do take stuff. When you come from the days that I did, where I just used to read the muscle magazines all the time and everybody was natural.
Yeah.
Everybody. It was Celtec or Metrics is what made them big. Nobody admitted taking anything back in the 90s and 80s. Yeah. Cybergenics. Yeah, I remember those old. You remember those old Cybergenics before and after ads?
Wasn't it Frank Santuralo or something like that? Was he the poster child of that?
I don't remember, man, but it was it was hilarious. But what they would do is take guys and put them on cycle and take them off cycle.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think we talked about sort of the same revelation that we came to. I remember doing Arnold's program when I was a teenager, and I'm like, man, it's not working. I'm not growing. I'm following his diet. I'm following his training program. And he left out the part with D-ball and DECA.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of following his progress from age 15 to 19. And when I was 15 and 16, I looked somewhat comparable. I mean, not obviously like him, but size-wise. But then he made a huge jump from, I think, age 17 and 19. He's got a picture of him in the mountains in Austria, and I looked at myself at 19. I'm like, wow, there's a huge difference here. So I'm like, there's something that he's not disclosing.
Yeah,
we figured that out later.
Yeah, it was D-ball. Here's these stupid Cybergenic ads. I found one of these. This is these were ridiculous. People think people lie about stuff now.
Oh, Mike Matarazzo.
It was all Cybergenics.
Yeah.
Oh man, I remember him.
Good old Mike.
He passed away, right?
Yeah, he had a heart attack.
Yeah, it's a sad deal, but yeah, I mean, for me, there was I couldn't figure it out, and we were talking about it before, and there was this guy, Carl was his name, that worked out at my gym, and I don't know, he seemed like the old grizzled guy when I was there, but he was the first real bodybuilder I ever met. I grew up in a small town. I don't know. Carl was probably in his mid-30s. I thought he was old at the time, but he was like the first real bodybuilder I ever met. And I saw that dude, and I'm like, holy shit, he doesn't look like everybody else. And I just nagged and asked him questions, and he finally pulled back the curtain and told me what everybody was doing. I'm like, are you serious? I was very anti-steroid. I didn't think that anybody took steroids, and I thought they were bad, and you were going to turn into, you were going to lose one eye and turn into a monster if you took steroids. And then he's like, kid, no. And I think he gave me, what was it? He gave me a bag of D-ball. I think it was.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, what was I, 19, 20 years old? and it was just like 5 milligram D-ball pills, and I took them. I remember I blew up like a tick, and then lost everything.
Oh God.
But that's where I started off at. But we all go through those phases, and then now I try to be more responsible with it where I can. Obviously, for shows, you're going to push things a little bit, but the older you get, the smarter you got to be with things.
I've always been very transparent. It's like people ask me, and it's just the usual stuff: test, and then some cutting agents. So
yeah, for me, for the off season, I just pretty much run test and primo bowling anymore. It's pretty much what I run year round, to be honest with you. What about diet? I mean, what kind of diet protocol were you running for your show?
So my coach put me on a macro-based diet this time, counting macros, which I've never done in the past.
That's what I do with my clients.
Yeah, I was basically eating 1 gram protein per body part or per body weight. And this prep, I was actually able to eat 6 meals a day a lot easier. I don't know if it was the second round of cardio that I was doing, because when I came back in 2019, I had a hard time eating, 5 days or 5 times a day for whatever reason. So this time around, I had no issues whatsoever. And we started out same as last time. It was a 16-week prep, and nothing too drastic, until like the very last couple of weeks. The carbs were dropped, pretty significantly, and then up the cardio.
I do macro-based diets for my clients. I think mainly for me, I just want to teach people how to eat, how to pick their own foods, how to be intelligent with picking their own foods, give them a little bit of flexibility. Right. Although sometimes I question myself, because then I find out people are eating Quest bars all day long.
Yeah.
I usually give them a list of approved foods, and you follow the macros, and then I'll adjust the macros. But I like giving people flexibility and teaching people how to do things on their own if possible. I know a lot of probably from the coaches, then it's easier just to give you a prescribed diet and make sure that they're eating the same thing every day. There's less variable and less margin for error.
Yeah, he gave me quite a few choices in terms of proteins and carbs.
Yeah, that's what I do.
It came to, I was eating pretty much the same thing day in, day out. And then, I would just switch the proteins around.
Yeah, I eat pretty much the same thing every day.
Yeah.
Who coached you?
His name is Trammell. He's out of Spokane with Top Gun Fitness.
Okay.
And I was actually competing at the Emerald Cup. He was coaching another client, and he looked at me. And he said, with a few tweaks, you could look so much better. And so I ended up going with him for this year's prep. And yeah, it's the best I've ever looked. So doing weekly check-ins.
He got you in shape.
Yeah. I mean, they know what they're doing. So, but I also was very consistent, and on point with the eating, the cardio, and the training.
Here's another one of these stupid Cybergenics ads.
Oh, yeah.
Cybergenics. That's all Cybergenics. The Cybergenics challenge. I remember I was a dumbass and bought that stuff. It was crazy expensive. It was just nothing.
I know it was like over $100 for. I mean, at that time it was outrageous. I don't even know.
I'm sure they made a ton of money off of it. There was absolutely nothing in it. Yeah, what did you peak out with cardio? How high did you get with your cardio?
So towards the end, I was doing 40 minutes fasted in the morning, and then I would do between 15 to 20. 25 in the evening.
Oh, that sucks.
It took a lot of my day. And then, I tried to throw in the posing when I could.
I hate cardio.
I don't mind cardio so much. But yeah, it gets monotonous. Focus more on the posing, because that really shows once, especially in a deep lineup, you definitely want to be posing down.
I constantly remind my clients, the people that I prep, if you get in shape and you can pose, you got a good chance of winning. There's so many people, especially at local shows. I'm sure you've seen it. There's so many guys that get up on stage that clearly have not practiced posing at all.
Yeah. I mean, it shows all the deep, the being exhausted to the sweating.
Oh, I see dudes cramping up and bending over because they haven't practiced, or they just don't even know how to hit the poses.
Yeah.
And I'm by no means the best poser, but I would almost rather people do a little less cardio and carve out some time to do posing. Because you're burning calories when you're doing posing anyway. I get a good sweat going, but I try to pose every day on prep, every day, at least 15, 20 minutes.
Well, it's just the conditioning too that it helps you with, you know.
Yep.
Gosh, when I was in my 20s, I was able to pose almost like an hour a day or a night. And then this time around, it's been a lot more challenging.
Well, it looked like they were, when you guys were up there on the stage, they were grinding you guys. They had you running through stuff.
Yeah, the overall was pretty taxing. So, and my coach said, you know, give it your all for that overall. And yeah, I mean, I was pretty beat afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like they were really working guys when they were up there. They were doing thorough comparisons. I felt like a lot of shows I go to, the judging, like I'm always like, I don't know if I agree with this placing or that placing. I thought overall the judging there was very, very good, very accurate. I didn't see anybody that I thought, you know, scratching my head. Like my guy that competed, like I had his placing pegged as soon as he went up on stage, and it was right on the money with where he was at.
What was he in again?
The Masters over 60s,
60.
Light heavyweights. He looked great. Okay. He got I think 4th place is where we ended up.
Okay.
And there were 12, 13 in his class, and he looked really good. But same deal with him. He hadn't competed in 20 years or so.
Yeah.
And he did a local show, did really well. And I was like, man, you should get up there and see what happens. I encourage him to do a national show, and he, I think, you know, we get him back next year. I think he might have a good chance.
Good. Yeah, that's a great show. I was, you doing the USA, you said?
Masters USA, yep.
Is that the one in Anaheim or?
Anaheim, yeah.
Okay, because I was thinking about doing that too, because it's, I believe, close to, it's like December, right?
It is November 18th, right before Thanksgiving.
Okay. Yeah, originally I was thinking about doing that show, but then my coach advised me. He said, just do Pittsburgh. I think he had 7 other people doing it, so it was a good time.
Well, it's easier if your coach is there.
Yeah, that was tremendous.
I don't get to go to that many shows with guys. I feel bad, but a lot of times they're hanging out there on their own.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean that's tough spot to be in when you're out there on your own. But yeah, this was hang on, I'll show you. This was my guy David that was out there. I mean, over 60.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I remember him.
Yeah,
it looks good.
You look great. You look really good. He was. I mean, you don't see many over 60-year-old guys that look like that.
No.
Are you doing any coaching?
I'm trying to get into it. So I'm putting up my website. I'm also starting a YouTube channel, just focusing on masters. And yeah, I mean, the ball's rolling.
Well, there are a lot of old guys in bodybuilding. I coach quite a few of them. I'd say that's my sweet spot, are the old dudes.
Yeah, I think sticking to masters is kind of what I want to focus on.
Well, it's fun working with I mean, I have a handful of young guys. I mean, it's cool seeing young guys, you know, kind of get it, but I really enjoy taking older competitors or older guys that maybe not even are competitors and that don't think they can do it anymore and get them back in shape. So I think a lot of times people just give up and just assume that, you know, let old age consume them and
right,
feel like they can't make any progress.
But then I've seen some guys make some transformations and they end up showing up at these shows and they tell me their stories. It's just so inspiring, you know.
I mean, you saw mine. I was a fat ass a few years ago. Those mashed potatoes.
Yeah, those toxic relationships.
Yeah, you know, it was weird. I hate talking trash about my ex-wife. We actually get along all right now, but she just hated me going to the gym. You know, thought I was silly and a waste of time and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, maybe she's right. And I just kind came to the realization that it's just such an important part of my life that I gave up. I kind of just like lost myself.
Yeah, you lose your identity. You become depressed.
Yeah, I just wasn't the same person. Yeah, you're right. I lost my mojo, man. It just wasn't there anymore.
And I was with a narcissist. So, I mean, she wanted to control me, and she's like, well, you don't need the gym. You have a girlfriend now. And it's like, wait a minute. You should be supporting me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I try to encourage with my friends. Like, if your partner is telling you what you should and shouldn't do with your life, you're with the wrong person. Somebody should support you. I would never tell my girlfriend what she can and can't do. I mean, so that's not.
I mean, what's the point of having a relationship if you want to control that person just for your own needs? And
it's insecurity.
Yeah,
that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, exactly.
But ultimately, I am the one that allowed it to happen. So
yeah, me too. I saw the red flags, but I didn't listen.
I take ownership of it. I made many poor decisions with women when I was younger. I'd see a beautiful girl, and it would ignore all the red flags.
Of course, you're thinking with the wrong head.
Hopefully I've got that straightened out now.
But I think we need to go through these lessons that makes us stronger, mentally, emotionally, and so forth. Just like severe injuries we've had, a lot of people fold when they, especially because I started a Facebook group specifically for people who tear their quads, and it's such a traumatic injury that in the beginning, they're like, oh my God, will I ever do what I've, loved doing again? And it's like, well, yes, it's just going to take a long time. Especially with a tendon tear, takes a long time.
Yeah, I mean the ACL. It was a year before I could really train legs again, and then it was 2 years before, I really felt comfortable on it.
Yeah,
and the surgery was brutal. The recovery from the surgery and all of it. Yeah, I'm sure I've heard quad tear is horrendous.
Yeah, it's just a lengthy recovery, usually about a year. Well, it was a year and a half for me on both occasions, just to get back.
How did you tear it?
So I tore my right quad. What was it? 2007 jet skiing.
It's never in the gym.
Well, you would hope it would be, because that's at least a good manly story, or a shark attack or something cool, But and then 6 years later, I did both legs snow skiing. And both times it was just me being reckless, thinking I'm, indestructible, 20 years old, and but people do it all the time. I mean, what's his name? Muscular development. Ron Harris just tore his quad walking his dog.
Yeah,
on wet pavement. Branch Warren did the same thing. I mean, 80% of the guys that are in my group ruptured their quads either just walking down the stairs, missing a step, wet pavement, or ice. Those are usually the big three.
Yeah, when I tore my ACL playing basketball. Of course, I was too old to be playing basketball, but my doctor told me, and I never really considered this. He's like, you didn't tear it then. He said it was probably already torn, and it just gave.
Right.
The rest of it just gave. So that's what it seems to be with a lot of injuries. There's already partial torn. Yeah. It's already, and it's just kind of hanging on, and then you snap it doing something silly. But I've never, I'm trying to think, I've never really had a catastrophic injury in the gym. It's always been something else. Knock on wood. Hopefully that doesn't happen today. But I try to, I try to live more intelligently now. People give me a hard time because I don't do any compound movements. I don't do any barbell movements at all. And just, to me, when I evaluate the risk versus reward ratio, especially at my age, if I have to be out for a year to recover from an injury, I mean, that's devastating, as you know. So I want to, for me, it's live to lift another day.
Right.
It's sort of the philosophy. And when you really think about it, do you really need to bench press or squat for bodybuilding?
No,
I don't think so. I mean, I've seen more people tear pecs on bench presses than any other injury. I worked as a personal trainer for 4 or 5 years when I was younger, and I I shit you not, I probably saw a dozen pec tears in that time when I worked in the gym. Just all the damn time people were tearing pecs. So I'm like, why risk it for me?
Yeah.
I just, maybe when you're young, it's a little different, but I think a lot of people can't figure out if they're a bodybuilder or if they're a power lifter. Yeah.
A power builder.
Power builder. They try to be both. And then you end up doing neither one of them very well.
Well, I mean, I quickly learned that you gotta leave the ego lifting, in check at home. Because, I mean, even now doing legs, I have to be very careful and warm up extremely, efficiently, because I just have that inner fear of, re-rupturing them. So I just...
Oh, it's always in the back of your mind once you've done it.
Yeah, it is. So, and it's like, it can certainly happen again, but I do all the things to prevent that. I don't go super heavy. I stick to mainly leg press and movements like that for legs. So.
I saw people giving Nick Walker a hard time. He doesn't like lift super heavy anymore. And he was doing hack squats, I think it was, and he was using 4 plates on hack squats, and people were like, well, I'd do more than that. And he's like, are your legs as big as mine?
Yeah.
He's like, I've grown and gotten bigger doing less weight, getting good range of motion. It's really a different way of lifting when you're a bodybuilder. And this is a point I try to ram home to younger guys, like with powerlifting or say CrossFit or something like that, that your objective is to get the weight from point A to point B in the most efficient way possible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the exact opposite in bodybuilding. We're trying to place as much load on the muscle with the least amount of weight as possible.
Yeah.
Get the most out of the lift. And it's really an art form. It takes, at least for me, like there's some body parts, it's taken me years to figure out how to train them. Like I could not get my arms to grow for the life of me for years. In the last couple of years, my arms have taken off. And the big thing that I can attribute it to that I've changed is I've lightened up my arm training. I focused more on feeling the muscle and actually making sure I'm getting a proper contraction. And I lift like half the weights that I used to on both, tricep and bicep exercises. And it took me 25 fucking years to figure that out. And then my arms grew.
I mean, you just have to put in the work and the years to really figure out your body because everyone's different.
How do you lift? I mean, backing up a little bit, what is your training style like?
So I'm very intuitive. I just really listen to my body. But for the most part, I do one major body part a day. I tried the push and pull method, but I don't know if it really worked well for me. So I have arms on a separate day and leg on a separate day. So for the prep, I was basically just training one body part per week. And I was thinking about trying to do a 2-day a week for legs just to maybe get my legs up and my hamstrings and see how that works.
I do more of a volume style training, but I do push pull legs and train everything twice a week. But
you like that?
I've done bro splits too. Trust me, I've done every style of training you can possibly. That's why I'll get the guys that do HIIT training, they get angry at me because I talk about volume. I'm like, dude, I trained fucking HIIT training for 10 years.
Right.
I've done it. It's not like I don't know anything about it. But yeah, I think you got to figure out what works for your body, what you can recover from. And this is not going to be a popular opinion, but as I've gotten older, I've found out that training is probably less important than diet. Diet's the most important part.
Yep. I'm thinking for this offseason, I kind of want to mix things around just to see if some different training style will work better for me.
I do. I don't know if you're familiar with Mike Israetel, Dr. Mike Israetel.
No.
Renaissance periodization. I do a program like he does. Nothing's to failure.
Okay.
It's more of a volume style of training, and it's push-pull. Well, not always programs are push-pull legs, but it's push-pull legs. Train everything twice a week. But it's really hard for me not to train to failure because I spent so much of my life feeling like I need to go in the gym and basically rip my muscles off the bone and be a cripple when I get home.
Right.
And I backed off my intensity a bit, upped my volume and frequency. And sometimes I go into the gym and I don't feel like I'm working hard enough, but I've made more progress training this way than I ever have.
Yeah. Well, and that's what matters, right? It's like stimulate, don't annihilate.
Yeah, the old Lee Haney approach. But I've sort of put the bro in me aside, that, where I have to go in and be puking in a trash can at the end of the workout and fry my central nervous system, and really think about, maybe it's more productive to hold a little bit back and be able to train with more frequency and get a little more volume in.
Mm-hmm.
You can overdo the volume. I mean, I've seen people that just get too carried away with the volume and the hyper focusing on squeezing things, like, the dudes that are doing 20 pounds on the cables for rows and, or 165 pounds. I'm like, I mean, come on, man, you got to do a little more than that. But there's a line you have to walk, like if you push the volume too high, then it's just junk volume. So there's a sweet spot. So you still need to train with some intensity, I think, but really focusing on actually feeling the muscle. That's always the first thing I ask people, like they're saying, well, this body part doesn't grow. And I said, well, let's talk about the exercises you're doing. And, they tell me the list of exercises. Well, on bicep curls, do you actually feel it in your biceps? Well, no, I don't really feel it. I'm like, okay, then something's wrong. We need to fix that right there. Either the exercise you're choosing is wrong or your form sucks. Let's start there first. Or maybe you're lifting too heavy.
Or intensity,
Yep. So I mean, there's all these variables that are to it, but you can get too carried away with the volume. You can do not enough volume. Seems like a lot of the Mike Mentzer stuff has been coming back lately, but like, I don't think you can properly train a body part with one set and be a bodybuilder. I just don't see how that's possible.
The old Dorian method.
Yeah. I mean, but Dorian would do multiple exercises. He would do one set and if you look at him, like what Dorian called a warm-up set, he was screaming and yelling and doing force reps and shit on a warm-up set. So I don't know that his volume was as low as he says he is. I challenge people to go back and look at the old blood and guts videos, and maybe he was just showing off for those videos, but I went through and counted it up. There was more volume in there than what he said. So I mean, clearly he got it done, but he also had to retire at 34, 33 for injuries.
Yeah.
So there's that
pretty
too.
Bad. Yeah.
When you're ripping biceps off the bone and triceps off the bone, you've taken it too far. I do think when you're younger, you probably do need to build some sort of base of strength up. But as you progress and get older, then you need to be more nuanced with your training.
Definitely. I mean, careful and like I was mentioning before, the ego lifting's got to be in check.
Yeah, it's like I tell guys, when you're 25, you can go out and play a backyard tackle football game and get up the next day and be fine. If you went out at 45 and played a tackle football game, you're probably going to be in the hospital. So why would you train like you did when you were 25? Why do you think that you can get away with that same type? Like, I get guys tell me how beat up and how they hurt. I'm like, then don't train like you're 25. Train like you're 45 or 50 or 55.
Well, eventually you'll learn your lesson if you keep doing what you've done, and
Well, I think that's why you'll see a lot of guys retire young, because they get their identity wrapped up in how they train.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they get to a point where they can't train that way anymore, and they just sort of lose their motivation to be a bodybuilder. I have to wonder if that wasn't the case with Ian Valieri. I mean, he's 33,
that's right.
and he just retired, but I know he was like playing. Clearly, he injured something. His pec didn't look right recently. And I noticed he was changing up the way he was training, and I'm sure that's hard for a guy that's always lifted heavy.
And he was putting up some poundages, if I remember.
Yeah. I mean, and it got him to where he was. So, I mean, I can't argue with this. He's had more success in bodybuilding than I have, but I have to wonder if that doesn't factor in with some of these guys retiring young. They'd rather retire than change the way they train.
Definitely agree with that.
All right, Steve, I got to wrap this up. I appreciate you coming on, man. Is there anything you want to promote, where people can get a hold of you for coaching?
Yeah, if people want to give me some love, I'm at Hereditary on Instagram. I just started my YouTube channel. It's going to focus on Masters Bodybuilding, and it's Masters Bodybuilding on YouTube. So hopefully down the road, I'll be able to interview you.
Yeah, anytime, man. You let me know when you want me to come on.
Yeah, I just got to get the YouTube set up. That's been kind of a challenge figuring all this out. So but we'll get there.
Mine was trash when I first set out. I look at my old videos. I'm like, oh my God, these were terrible.
Well, the important thing they say is just getting started.
Just getting started.
So, well, I appreciate your time, bud.
All right, folks. Thank you for watching. Appreciate each and every one of you.
Take care, guys.